Hello everybody and welcome back to Blanche Fitness. It's Tuesday and you know what that means? It's time for Perpetual Motion, the class where we never stop moving. And wow, it's only been a week, but I feel like I've already forgotten everything that I ever knew about streaming. Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. I hope that you had a good week. I'm sorry that I did not tweet out classes as frequently as I said that I was going to. I feel like this happened the last time I did a full streaming rest week as well, where I was like, oh yeah, I'll tweet out during the normal times, like some classes that you could take, and then I didn't. And yeah, I mean, that's what the VODs are for, obviously. You can always go to the YouTube channel and find any VODs that you want, so hopefully that wasn't a barrier for anybody who was looking for class to take. But yeah, you know, I was talking about this a little bit on Instagram, but these rest weeks never are as restful as I imagine that they're going to be. And I feel like part of it is that we have a tendency, or I mean, I shouldn't speak for everyone. I have a tendency, and I think that many people do as well, to not necessarily give full attention to things that are impacting me mentally or emotionally. And I you know, I only have a sample size of 2 at this point, but I feel like what has happened both times that I've done these rest weeks from streaming is that I've been like, all right, cool, time to have a restful week. And my brain goes, or we could deal with that stuff that you've been putting off dealing with. And I'm like, well, I guess that makes sense, but it's not very restful. So yeah, you know, it was more of a week of realizing how burnt out I am and dealing with a variety of things. And yeah, not quite the like, I'm going to lounge around and just, you know, watch television or something that I'd hoped. But I did keep up my walks, and that was very good. Hello, welcome back. Glad you found the new class time. Yeah, I woke up this morning and was like, oh yeah, I had planned to change class times, and here we are. And I'm pleased with it. I hope that it doesn't throw people off too badly. This change obviously is not a huge one. It's a 15-minute difference. The big change is going to be our Friday night class, going from 6 p.m. Mountain Time to 5 p.m. Mountain Time. You know, originally when I had scheduled all of the classes, I tried to do a lot more variation in start times to account for time zones, but everybody who takes class with me seems to be totally fine with this general time of day as a time for class, and particularly on the Fridays, and with, you know, people getting vaccinated, and so hopefully having some more like actual social things to maybe start doing. Oh my God, how weird. You know, I know that I want to be done teaching a little bit sooner, and probably people want to be done taking class a little bit sooner so that they have more of the evening ahead of them. Oh no. Okay, well, thank goodness for the Twitch alert. You were going along being like, great, still have 15 minutes before class starts. Yeah, so anybody who did not actually officially see the notice on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, I think I put it on Twitter as well, class schedule changes. So Tuesdays, Perpetual Motion class will now be moving from 5:45 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. So just a difference of 15 minutes. Hopefully won't impact your day too much. Just like, I like the half hours. The only reason that I was doing it at 5:45 was because that mirrored the time of a previous in-person class that I'm no longer teaching because COVID. And I suddenly was like, oh, I don't really need to mimic that anymore. This is my stream. I can do whatever I want. I'm a rebel. So Tuesdays, are moving from 5:45 to 5:30 p.m. Mountain Time. And Fridays, our functional home fitness class is moving from 6 p.m. to 5 p.m. So that's a bigger difference. That's a difference of a whole hour earlier. So just keep that in mind, and I'll obviously send out notifications on Friday as per usual. But yeah, so if you're usually with me on the Friday class, then don't miss it. It's at 5 now. So if you're on the East Coast, that means it's at 7 now instead of 8. And if you're on the West Coast, that means that it's at 4 now instead of 5. And if you're in Hawaii, then, oh God, it means it's at 1, I think, instead of noon. I don't know. My times are all weird in Hawaii anyway. They're all like midday classes. But yes, I'm glad to be back. I'm going to ease back in today, you know, because I'm realizing too that I have a lot of other like fitness activities that I want to start getting back into, especially now that the weather's warmer. You know, I'm hoping to go for a hike on Friday, and I'm hoping to start getting a run in each week. And so while I still want to do a lot of class, I also need to be aware of my overall energy levels. And so I'm going to ease myself back into class rather than immediately jumping back in and trying to do the entirety of class, so that I can get a better sense of what my overall energy requirements are over the course of the week, and you know, plan accordingly, and then ramp myself back up to previous intensity levels. And this, you know, we talk about how when we want to start upping our challenge rating, one of the things that we can do is up the amount of exercise time and decrease the amount of rest time. But that also, we also need to factor in how much intensity we are putting into the exercises, and maybe have to ramp that back a little bit while we get used to just longer periods overall of movement. They do not do daylight savings time. Hawaii does not do like daylight savings time, because it would be stupid there, because over the course of a year, there's a difference of maybe an hour and a half in terms of when the sun sets. Yeah, you know, it's sometime between 6 p.m. and 7:30 p.m., regardless of where you are in the year. And so it just would be useless for any of the justification, like regardless of which justification you've heard for why we do daylight savings, it wouldn't make sense in Hawaii for any of them. But yeah, so we're back from a rest week, and you know, it's a good time to reassess what our goals are, you know? So my goals are upping my overall activity levels throughout the week, and maintaining my daily morning walks, and trying to get some hiking back in, and trying to get some running back in, all the while recognizing that that means that I'm going to have to ramp back in intensity on some of the things that I've been doing on a more regular basis, while I start getting used to adding in so much more overall movement. And these things are really important for us to pay attention to, okay? So I'm gonna do my best to model that behavior, and to talk as openly as possible about this journey for myself, so that you can get a better sense of how this feels and how it looks to do this work. Oh yeah, no, it doesn't make sense for anyone. Yeah, definitively does not make sense for anyone, but particularly doesn't make sense in a place where there's already so little variation in sunset times. How did we even get on that? Oh, I was talking about class times, that's right. Anyway, hello. All right, I've been rambling a lot. You can tell I have forgotten how to start class. But welcome. If this is your first time on the stream, welcome. Tuesdays, Perpetual Motion, the class where we never stop moving, also known as the half marathon of HIIT classes. So if this is your first time taking this class, as a quick note, it's a little bit different than my other bodyweight classes because we mean perpetual motion literally. So with most of my classes, we do a lot of high intensity interval training classes. And when you get to the end of a workout timer and the final horn goes off, you get to take a break and rest. But in Tuesday class, when you get to the end of the workout timer and the horn goes off, we instead go immediately into our active rest exercise, which is an exercise called cross jacks that I will demonstrate when it becomes relevant. But that means that from the time that we begin the warm up to the time that I let you know that everything is over, we do not stop moving the whole time, even when you're drinking water. So again, it's a class about stamina. It's a class about really paying attention to your energy levels and how you are apportioning your energy throughout the course of class. So if this is your first time, all you need to focus on is the bare minimum, which on Tuesdays we add one additional component. So the bare minimum always consists of starting on time, stopping on time, and doing the exercise correctly. On Tuesdays we add in the fourth component, which is keep moving the whole time. So just aim for those four things. Don't worry about pushing yourself, going for 150% energy. No, just focus on starting on time, stopping on time, which means stopping when we actually get to the end of class, doing the exercises correctly, which is an evergreen component that is always, always, always important, and keeping moving the whole time. All right? So let's do our pre-class checklist. Let's make sure, hey, we've got our water in whatever water vessel we are using. Always good to take that pre-class sip just to see how well you've been hydrating. I've been doing much better with my hydration, which is very, very nice. You've got your comfy clothes, whatever that means to you. You've got your mat or mat-sized space on the floor. And if you use a fitness wearable, time to turn that on to a high intensity interval training setting. If you don't use one, that's totally fine. Make sure that your water is placed somewhere where you can get it from a standing position, because cross jacks are a standing exercise. So you don't want to have to interrupt the movement so that you can, lean over and grab something off the floor or something like that. So you want it within arm's reach of a standing position. And just keep in mind that I, as a teacher, will not be moving the whole time. But just because I stopped doing cross jacks does not mean that you should stop doing cross jacks, okay? I just like to let people know that because, yeah, I have additional constraints in that I need to have enough energy to keep talking at you. So, all right, we've got everything. We're ready. Okay, seriously, it feels like it's been a million years, but let's do our warm-up. Oh my gosh, this is my first time doing full exercise with my purple hair. Let's see how that goes. It's had a week to settle in, so I probably won't come up against some of the issues of bleed that I had with the green hair, because I think the first time I worked out with the green hair was like 4 days after I got it done, and there's definitely had some green streaks going down the side of my face by the end there. Oh my goodness, you know what I forgot? Oh man, I totally forgot the speaker. Give me 1 sec, friends. I didn't turn off the microphone. I'm not really sure why I put on that screen, but anyway, okay, we've got the speaker, and that is relevant for class. So, you have had a little bit of extra time to consider your life choices. So if you're still here, that's good. Yay. All right, here we go. Oh, wow. First time on the mat in a week. Gotta dust off some cobwebs. So, all right, everybody. On your mats, on your backs, one foot crossed over the opposite knee, and as soon as that horn goes off, we will begin with hip rocks and bridges. Yeah, hey, here we go. Oh my goodness. Now, I know I always say this, but it's particularly important if you, like me, are coming off of a full rest week, remembering that the warm-up is exactly that. It is a time for us to warm up. It is a time for us to help our body to turn on all of the systems that it needs in order to exercise. And so we do not need to be diving immediately into full-on intensity. The warm-up is already structured in such a way that we will be sort of naturally ramping up the amount of energy that different activities take as we go along. But all right, switch feet. Even once we get to the very end, even once we get to the cardio section of the warm-up, we are still not wanting to be going full tilt, okay? The warm-up is a boot-up system. This is us letting our brains know that they're going to need to be sending lots of electrical signals down to our muscle fibers, letting our muscle fibers know that they're going to need to jumpstart those energy production systems, start breaking down some of the stored fuel sources and turning them into usable energy. Letting our cardiovascular system know that we're going to need to be getting more oxygen in more quickly and moving it through the body more quickly. So that's our focus right now. That is the whole purpose of what we're doing. So we are not here to, lift our leg as high as it possibly can go. We'll get to that point in class, absolutely. We will get there, but we do not need to be there right now, okay? So just something for us to always keep in mind, but it's particularly important if you, like me, have used the last week as a rest week. We already struggle a lot with allowing ourselves rest, with recognizing that it is an important component of our overall exercise, that it helps us to keep ourselves and our bodies safe and healthy. So it's already a struggle for us to just have a rest week. And there can definitely be a tendency to get back on the mat and go, all right, well, now I really need to push it, because I just took the whole week off and, I didn't do anything productive. So now clearly I have to make up for lost time. And the making up for lost time mentality negates the entire point of the rest week, okay? You do not need to make up for anything. It was not lost time. It was very well used time, okay? So first of all, we need to recognize the value and the importance of rest as an overall component of our lives, as something that we do because it is important, because it is valid, because we are not capitalism machines that are only supposed to be focused on productivity, okay? So we have nothing to be ashamed of. We have nothing to make up for. We took a rest week, and now we're gonna get ourselves back into our schedule. And the fact of the matter is, sometimes you come out of a rest week and you do feel overall super energized, And, you know, you may get to the end of this warm-up and be like, all right, you know what, I'm ready to rock and roll. I'm going to try that out. And that's awesome. Go for it. Sometimes, you know, sometimes you get out of a rest week and you're like, okay, I'm still feeling a little bit quieter, a little bit slower. And I think I need to let myself ramp a little bit more, so not immediately throw myself back to previous energy levels. And that's fine too. The important thing is having those conversations with your body, with your brain, learning to recognize and interpret the signals that they are sending you, and to then act on those signals, all right? And it all comes down to that. If there is one thing that I really want everyone to work on training themselves for, it's training yourself to be able to recognize and actually interpret the signals that your body is sending you. You know, when it's tired, when it's like, yeah, let's push, when it needs more ramp up time because of stress, because of, you know, mental health stuff flaring up, because of issues with the world that are weighing on us, you know. We are not machines. We are not just, you know, magically dropping all of the other things happening in our lives at the door when we step on the mat. That's not how we operate. And it's important for us to be respectful of where we are in any given point when we get on the mat. And to work with that rather than fighting it, okay? So rather than seeing exhaustion or low energy feelings when we get on the mat as an enemy that we need to fight through, we want to acknowledge the validity of it and then try and dig into, okay, why am I feeling that way? You know, why am I feeling a little bit worn out right now? And there can be a host of reasons. It's rarely just one, you know. You could be having a rough week at work. You could be having a lot of, you know, issues with family. You could be a minority in America, which is an experience that I clearly cannot specifically relate to, but definitely understand how it impacts and colors everything else that we do. You could be a human with a uterus and be on your period, which has a huge impact on our overall energy levels. All of these things, and so we want to recognize them. We want to recognize the validity of what we're feeling, why we're feeling it, and then determine sort of in tandem with our bodies and brains how we want to approach our time on the mat. And a lot of times, you know, we may start warm up feeling a bit more run down, and then get to the end of it and feel that our energy has actually increased somewhat. And my personal theory about this, I don't necessarily have the science to back it up, but I feel like it makes sense, is that, again, if our warm-up is boot up sequence and we are turning on our energy production systems and getting them going and starting to break down fuel stores into usable energy, then we are going to get to the end of the warm-up and have more energy available and usable to us than we did at the beginning of it. And so that can make the difference. That can make the difference between feeling kind of worn down at the beginning of the warm-up and feeling, oh, all right, I think that I'm ready to push myself a little bit harder when you get out of the warm-up. And it does not always happen that way. Sometimes we get to the end of the warm-up and we're like, I'm still feeling kind of tired. I'm still feeling run down. And I think that I still need to go at maybe a slower pace, or put a little bit less overall intensity into the exercises. And that's totally fine as well. And part of the point of talking about this right now is to make it clear that there's no one-size-fits-all approach for every person. And there's also no one-size-fits-all approach for every class. Because, again, sometimes you come into class and, you start out being like, it's a miracle I'm even on the mat. I don't know how I'm going to make it through. And sometimes that feeling stays with you the whole time. And sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes, you get to the end of the warm-up, or maybe at the end of the warm-up you're feeling a little bit better, and then after the first exercise sequence, you go, oh yeah, I'm definitely feeling able to push a little bit more, So it's something that we can re-examine throughout class, But the most important starting place is just actually developing the capacity to listen without judgment to what your body and your brain are asking for, and taking those requests seriously. Again, rather than immediately looking at them as weakness or, unacceptable requests or anything like that, which we have a tendency to do, which many of us were trained to do by PE teachers, by coaches, by dance instructors, especially when we're growing up. And anyone who's been in class with me for a while knows that that is one of my huge grinds my gears things. So, there's a lot of deprogramming that we have to do in terms of not just immediately going, well, no, it doesn't matter that I'm tired. I just have to push through it, because otherwise I'm just being lazy or what have you. And that's not what you're doing. That is not what you're doing. I really should get used to doing the jumping jacks actually on my mat. It's a little noisier, but again, for any of our jumping exercises, having that, cushion is very important for our joints. Hard surfaces get really tough on our joints, and wood flooring is not the worst of the hard surfaces, but this isn't just wood flooring. There may be concrete under it, or some other very, very hard building material. And it's really important that we pay attention to how we're cushioning our joints with this type of activity. So if you are working out in a space that is primarily like wood floor or concrete or anything like that, then definitely make sure that you have good mat, and you may want something even thicker, something like these puzzle pieces, okay? And that way, you'll protect all of your joints a little bit more effectively. All right? We are almost to the end of the warm-up. Here we are. Last but not least, at our burpees. So, jumping into the plank, but then doing a wave push-up, okay? And as soon as the final horn goes off, we will immediately stand up from wherever we are in the exercise, and we will start to do our cross jacks, okay? So this is where the perpetual motion really becomes real, where we truly discover that we are not going to stop until the end of class. So here we are for our cross jacks. It's a cousin of the jumping jack. So just feet out, feet in, one cross in front of the other, and hands mirror out, and then in, one crossed on top of the other, then out and in, and you switch. All right? And you can modify a couple of ways. You can just kick the feet out while doing the hands, or just do a little back and forth. Just make sure that you keep moving the whole time. All righty? Oh man, let's get some water. Golly. Welcome back to class. There's a reason why the first I in HIT stands for intensity. That was weird. Your first icon disappeared from one message to the next. Weird. Anyway. All right, my friends. We're just gonna do some standard perpetual motion sets, 30-second work intervals. I think 3 exercises, and just start getting ourselves back into the swing of things. So, first exercise, we are going to just do some toe squats. Don't usually do them in these type of intervals, so you know the drill. Feet hip width apart, all the way down and all the way up, trying from the side, keeping my back straight up and down as possible, all the way down, just letting my heels come off the floor when they need to, and all the way up, okay? So that's gonna be exercise number 1. Exercise number 2 is going to be bicycles. So contract those abdominals to lift the chest and shoulders off the ground. One knee into the chest, other leg extended but in the air. Elbow to opposite knee. Switch, switch, switch. Back and forth like that. And then third, we're just going to do everybody's favorite. Oh yeah, that front plank from the elbow. Just to welcome you back to class. All right. So, everybody is on their mats and you're doing your cross jacks, yeah? You have not stopped, not even when you were drinking water. And as soon as you hear that horn, you will immediately go into your turtle squats. So that's the big thing for our perpetual motion class. For starting on time, the way that we do that differs in this class from, say, our Wednesday class or our Saturday class.
whenever we're doing like tabatas, we're starting each exercise from a still point. So we're able to get fully into place and prep. And then when we hear the horn, just immediately start in. For this class, we have to keep doing the exercise we're on all the way until we hear that horn, at which point then we get to switch around and get into place. So that means that starting on time is minimizing the amount of time that we take to get from the exercise we are currently doing into the exercise that we need to do next. All right? So something for us to keep in mind as we go through these sets. All right, so you're on your second set. And remember that we need to be in control of the motion the whole time. So you don't want to let gravity pull you down and bounce you around. That's going to put some really bad pressures on your knees. We like our knees. They're important. We want to protect them as much as possible. Okay? And then here with our bicycles, as with all of our abdominal exercises, I want you to check in. Maybe take the exercise a little slower than usual and just confirm, am I generating the movement with my abdominal muscles? And if the answer is no, then, well, you're not doing the exercise correctly. And that is one of our bare minimum qualifications. So I always want you to check in on those ab exercises because it's so easy for us to lose track of the abdominals themselves and to instead put the focus on other muscle groups that can move our body so it seems like we are doing the exercise correctly, but without actually engaging and really using the muscle group that we are intending to work. And that becomes very common with our abdominal exercises, which is why I will generally talk about it a lot when we do them. So yeah, slow down those bicycles. You don't need to go fast, but really pay attention to the obliques every time they contract, and pull one elbow across the body, and pay attention to the abdominals being contracted the whole time to keep your chest and shoulders off the floor. All right? And then into our plank. We want those shoulders directly over the elbows. So we've got that nice perpendicular line between the upper arms and the ground. A nice flat line on the rest of the body. So not letting that butt drift up into the air. And as soon as that horn goes, we're back up and we're doing those cross tracks again. All right. Woo! Oh man. Yeah, it is good to be back. Really good to be back. Intense, but I have missed this, and that's nice. And you know, even I, as a teacher, get worried during my rest weeks, you know, that I've killed my momentum, that I'm not going to be able to get that habit and that discipline back. And it's not true. It's not true.
but I understand the fear, and I want you to know that, like, I want to always be clear that it's something that everybody goes through, okay? And, you know, that is one of the big fears about taking rest, is worrying that we're losing out on our momentum and not going to be able to build that back. And you absolutely can. But even if it takes you a little bit longer and you have to sort of ramp a little more slowly back into it, there's nothing wrong with that. All right? We judge ourselves so harshly for these things. And it's like, there's nothing wrong with that. Oh, I accidentally took an extra week off that I didn't mean to. Okay, so next week, let me try to just get one class in a week and go from there. Remind myself that I can do that. And then maybe a week or two down the line, add in a second class. There is never any shame in needing to ramp back up to where you were, okay? And yeah, the less we shame ourselves in exercise, the easier it is to actually maintain it. All right, next set. Woo, I'm talking a lot today, but that's all right. Okay, next up, let's do some aerobics knees. So feet about hip width apart, hip to shoulder width apart actually. Squat down, raise one knee up, bring the opposite elbow to it. You should feel the contraction in your obliques to turn your torso, okay? So aerobics knees, and then let's do just some push-ups from whatever position. You can do full plank, you can do from the knees, you can do wave, half plank, you can do incline push-ups off furniture, you can do wall push-ups. Just make sure your shoulders are directly over your wrists and your elbows are glued in by your sides and not fanning outwards, all right? And then our third exercise is going to be just a held front superhero. So we're just going to hold this position, and if you want to add a little movement in, you can bend at the elbows, extend behind you, bend at the elbows, push in front of you, okay? Sometimes just adding that little bit of movement in can help to more easily maintain the held position. All right, so aerobics knees, push-ups, and a held front superhero. All right, we're cross-jacking away, and as soon as we hear that horn, we are beginning. So we're not doing a really deep squat. It's no more than a 45-degree angle. It's just enough to power us standing up onto one leg and lifting that knee up, okay? So we're not trying to go all the way down and then all the way up. It's just a little bit of extra power. And then here with our push-ups. Again, the reason that I tell you to keep your elbows glued in is because that helps to really focus the effort on your triceps, and that is what I like to do. Okay? There are a lot of other versions of push-ups that are totally valid. This just happens to be the one I prefer. Ooh, I can tell that my rest week has done good things because this position is feeling a lot stronger than it did last time I did class. And that's one of the really cool things about rest weeks is that frequently when we come back and start doing our exercise again, we'll find, like maybe an exercise, maybe a whole sequence, but we'll find bits and pieces where we're like, oh, that feels easier than it did before. Oh, I feel a little bit more powerful
a little stronger than I did before. And that's because you let yourself rest, which is, say it with me, an important component of this process. And if it seems like I focus a lot on this, you're not wrong. And part of that, honestly, is because I have to push against so many other voices in the fitness space that are so focused on like, no, gotta push, gotta have, you rip open a pillow, throw your ice cream on the ground, and it's exhausting, you know, and it ties in with so many unhealthy, like, God, all time has to be productive time, and if it's not productive time, then you're wasting your time, and, you know, all this, like, boot camp approach to life, which is just so awful and so toxic. And so I really like to, I really focus a lot of my teaching time on talking about rest and emphasizing its importance so that you know that rest is not just acceptable, but should be an essential element of your life and of your fitness planning. This isn't something that we begrudgingly do. This is something that we should take pride and pleasure in. Just letting ourselves relax, letting ourselves be still, be present, and caring for ourselves. It's so important. And we are so cruel to ourselves far too often. And just, convincing ourselves that it's not okay, or that we don't need it. We do need it. Everybody needs it. So if it seems like I talk about it a lot, you're not wrong. And hopefully my voice can be, a start of some changes, start of changing the way we look at exercise, and we look at rest, and we look at the whole holistic everything coming together. Oh man. Make sure you're drinking water, okay? Alrighty. Woo! Oh, this feels good. Feels good to be moving again. Feels good to be getting that HIIT class in. I hope you are also enjoying it. Alright, so now let's do, so the first two exercises are going to be side one and side two of the same exercise. So we're going to step forward on the one foot, other leg behind you. Keep those hips squared to the front. And then I'm just going to take my entire trunk forward in a tabletop, and then back up, and down, and up, and down, and up, and then second side, down, and up, and down, and up. You'll probably find that one side's easier to balance on than the other. That's totally natural. And then our third exercise is going to be knee crunches. This is something that I did in our Saturday April Powers classes, but haven't necessarily done in other classes. So up on our tailbone in a pike, turn those knees to one side. So I'm pointing them forward right now, and then contract the obliques and pull the knees in towards your chest, then out, turn them to the other side, and other side, okay? So we've got our penchés, side 1 and side 2, and then we've got our knee crunches. So everybody getting prepped. Now, remember for basically all exercises, core engagement is super critical. Our cores are incredible stabilizing muscles, okay? And so even when we're not doing an abdominal exercise specifically, having that core engagement just helps to manage movement and keep a nice stable center for us to work from. So with something like this, you know, I'm moving, I'm balancing, which can be really tricky. So getting my core involved helps to make sure that I'm controlling that leg and my torso so that nothing is pulling in unexpected directions and then causing me to fall, okay? So it is something to always pay attention to because, yeah, that is the big, from my perspective anyway, the big stabilizing muscle group. And one of the reasons why I love abdominal exercises and why I put a ton of them in class. So these penchés are very different from a lot of the exercises that we do. They require a stillness and a concentration that we don't always afford ourselves, okay? We are not trying to go, huh, 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 huh. We're not going for speed on these. We are going for stability, strength, that kind of held, bound power, okay? And that can feel counterintuitive, especially in HIIT classes. And I like to mix it up sometimes because this keeps our brains engaged, you know? One of the things that can happen with classes is that we get super used to the exercises and we're like, yeah, I know that. And we stop paying as much focused attention to what we're doing, to the bare minimum, making sure that we're starting on time, stopping on time, doing the exercise correctly. And, you know, when we start to lose that concentration, we open ourselves up to injury. So throwing in something that throws us off a little bit, that forces us to, you know, stop and take notice, helps to re-engage our brain in this process and make it go, oh, okay, I hadn't noticed that I was doing this thing, and now I notice, and that's good, you know? So that's one of the reasons why I look for new exercises and throw them in, is to get our brains going, ooh, a challenge, something new to learn and to focus on. Wow, my balance on my left side was tenuous today, shall we say. And that's all right as well, because, you know, even if we are good at a thing, that does not mean that we will be good at it all the time. Some days are always going to be harder shoulders, no matter what. All right, back to those cross jacks. Yeah. Woo. I hope you are drinking water. I know how difficult it is to drink water while bouncing up and down. And you have to be careful for a class like this, like what type of vessel you've put your water in, you know? I wouldn't necessarily want my water in this glass mason jar if I'm trying to drink it while I'm bouncing up and down. You know, it makes it more likely I'm gonna whack myself in the teeth. So, another thing to think about, in addition to where do I put my water during class so that I can reach it easily. Alrighty, let's see here. Oh man. Okay. I want us to do some high knee runs. So we're just basically doing half of the Flaming Scarlets, but without holding our arms in the V for victory. And which, honestly, I prefer the high knee runs to the Flaming Scarlets these days, just because it's lower impact on our shoulders. And a lot of people have shoulder issues that can make trying to hold our arms in that position a little bit trickier. But if you do want to ramp up the intensity, anytime I give high knee runs, you can always turn it into a Flaming Scarlet. That's totally fine, okay? So we've got that. Let's do some bridges. So let's just go, actually no, let's just do a held. Let's just do a held bridge. So you can either do this, so starting my back, my feet are flat on the floor, heels pulled pretty close in to my butt, and then just lift the hips up and hold. So you can do that, or again, if you want to up your challenge rating, put your hands flat on the ground, fingers pointing back down towards your shoulders, and just push up into a full bridge and hold it for those 30 seconds, alrighty? That was 2 exercises, wasn't it? Where am I? And then third exercise, it's just going to be boat rocks. So from this pike position, contracting the abdominals to round the lower back, and rocking back onto the back, and then back up to the balance. You need to make sure that you are keeping the back rounded, because otherwise, ow, and then I'm a dead bug on the floor. Okay, we don't want that. Okay, high knee runs, bridges, and boat rocks. There we go. I remembered all 3 of the exercises. That's good. Every once in a while, I'll say the exercises and then I'm like, what the heck did I just say? What did I tell people to do? Are they gonna remember? All right, so high knee runs. So we're trying to get our knees up above the crease in the hips, like this, okay? And if you're not quite there yet, then just aim for getting the knees up as high as they can go, okay? That's the main focus, regardless. Our sort of aspirational is up above the crease in the hips. But if that is not where you are, then the focus point is just, I want my knees up as high as they can go. Same thing here, okay? So, you know, in the warm-up, when we do our hip rocks and bridges, I tell you not to worry about bridging up as high as you can go. Now, we want to be going up as high as we can go, okay? All right, and then boat rock, which is another one of those exercises that is very easy to do and think, oh, well, I'm not feeling anything. I must just be super strong, and this exercise doesn't do anything for me. And that's really not what it is. What it is that you are not contracting the abdominals. Because I promise you, if you are contracting the abdominals there, you will feel them throughout the exercise. And it's super easy in that one to miss it. And I did for years. I was like, oh, I hate boat rocks. Like, I'm too strong for them. No, I was not, in fact, too strong for the boat rocks. I just wasn't actually focusing that contraction. I'm gonna do this bridge. Did anybody else do these when you were growing up? Just like playing around on a neighbor's lawn and practicing like one-armed cartwheels and bridges like this? Because I have very, very fond memories of times very far away, very long ago. Whew. I'll tell you, that bridge is very intense to hold, even for 30 seconds. And I think that may actually be the first time that I've held it in class. So, wow, if you've been selecting that bridge consistently, then I hope you feel very proud of yourself. All right. And again, every time we go back in to an exercise, we want to check in on that form because we want it to be just as good the third time around as it was the first time around, okay? So we want to still be pulling those knees up as high as we can. And we want to make sure that we are holding this bridge position as high as we can and that we're maintaining the contraction in our abs when we're doing the boat rocks. So every time that you start an exercise, no matter whether it's the first run through or the third or fourth, you need to check in and go, all right, how is my form? Because it gets harder to maintain form the more fatigued we get. And so it becomes more and more important for us to check in on that form. That was the ending horn. Ending horn. My apologies. An alarm went off on my phone and threw us off. So back to those cross jacks. Woo! All right. Curses. Dang. Alarms. Okay. Hey, everybody. Hey. Woo. It's very amusing to me that I just found a green hair on myself. Considering that my hair isn't green anymore. I'm still going to be finding these green hairs around the house for probably a year. At least, considering how long I had that color in. Oh my God. All right. Let's do at least one more perpetual motion set. And then finish out with some good old calf awareness because it's been, over a week since the last time you did calf awareness, close to 2. And I know you've been missing it. And, I don't want you to feel sad that you haven't gotten to be aware of your calves. Well, I'm gonna make you more aware of them anyway. All right. Okay. But before we do calf awareness, we do one more set Okay. So for our final set, for our last party trick, let's do turtle stands. So rock up on the shoulders, up onto the feet, and then just stand up. Gotta love it. A fairly self-explanatory exercise. Then let's do our side-to-side planks and get that awesome shoulder strength and stability in there like that. Here we are. Yep. Going side to side. And then for our third exercise, oh gosh, let's do full pike extensions. I haven't done that in a while. So from this pike position, extend all the way out, hands and feet away from each other, still off the ground, and then back up into that pike. Okay? So turtle stands, side to side planks, and a full pike extension. Oh, are you sweating? Because I'm sweating. Maybe it's that I'm in a very small room with not a lot of airflow, but still. Woo! All right, as soon as you hear that horn, here we go. Remember, if you need to, you can modify to push yourself up with a hand or to put a knee down on the floor and sort of push up like that. Just be aware that it does sort of get in the way of your overall momentum. And this exercise is very momentum based. So you just want to pay attention to that. Totally forgot what the second exercise was. Oh boy, that's okay. We're getting back into it, right? We are getting back into the swing of things, and that's fun for us. And it's also, this is our first week doing a non-April Powers program, because the last week of programming was secret week 5 of April Powers, where we go back to the week 1 programs and just see how they feel. So this is my first time having to actually build out a program again for you in, a month and a half, which is fun. I had missed this. There is something very soothing about knowing that you're doing the exact same thing all the time, from a teaching standpoint anyway. But it's also really nice to just be able to freeform a little bit more and play around with things. Again, variety helps us so much with everything fitness related. It's why I always recommend trying new activities and seeing what appeals to you, retrying things, a year or two down the line, and seeing what's changed. Like, I'm planning to go for a run this week for the first time in ages, and to just see how that feels, whether it feels like an activity that I'm more interested in doing. And keeping in mind too, on the other side of that coin, that, where on the one side, there may be things that we didn't used to like, that we start to enjoy. We also, on the other side of that coin, may discover at different points that things we used to be super engaged in, we just don't like to do as much and want to take a break from. And that is totally okay. You know, there is absolutely no reason why you are required to do the same activities for your entire life, okay? Some things serve us really well at some points in our lives, and then we move on to other things, and that's totally fine, you know? There are plenty of sports that I used to do as a kid that I very much enjoyed at the time and don't feel the need to go back to now, because it's just not an activity I'm interested in, and that is a-okay. So always keep that in mind. Oh, all right. Just do the low-key version of cross jacks, because we're gonna do our calf awareness now, my friends. So as soon as you hear that horn, standing and balancing flat on one foot. Hey, all right. Woo. Big breaths, getting our heart rate back down, letting our body know, oh, cool. I have more time to move oxygen through the system. I don't have to be racing quite as much, okay? And just slowing our breath down is the way that we send that signal, all right? And it's one of the things that high intensity interval training trains us for, is being able to get our heart rate down and get our breath rate down really quickly after the cessation of movement, of exercise. All right, other side. And now focusing in a little more on the balance itself, making sure that any micro adjustments we're making are happening at the foot or ankle. So making sure that all of our stabilizing muscle groups, starting with the core, then the glutes and the quads on the working leg, all of those muscle groups are engaged, so that from the knee up is basically just one weight, one unit. So our ankle doesn't have to wrangle a bunch of disparate parts, okay? Now, when the timer goes off again, back to the first side, and this time we are balancing up on the ball of the foot, okay? So a lot harder. We still want all those stabilizing muscle groups engaged. We still want to try and manage the balance with our foot or ankle, but recognizing that we've added a big extra component and we may fall out of the position a little more frequently, and that's fine. Just if you feel like you're gonna fall out, try and lower your heel very deliberately, reset, hold as much as you can, then lower very deliberately. So try not to, we don't want to be falling out of the position, because that slow lower of the heel back to the floor, that again is helping to work those calves, all right? So we want to get that calf engagement in, even if we're not able to hold the balance the whole time. All right, other side. And keeping in mind that one side may be better than the other at balancing, and that's perfectly normal. We are not symmetrical creatures. Check back in on that core engagement. Hey, is that still going on? Because I'm willing to bet that you may have forgotten about that component, in the midst of all the other things you're trying to maintain. So check back in and just see if that's there. All right, when the timer goes off again, back to that first side, and now we'll be doing an actively moving balance by first rocking up onto the ball of the foot and then rocking back onto the heel, okay? So not putting the other leg down at all, just rocking up on the ball, then back on the heel, then up on the ball, then back on the heel. And just going back and forth like that. And you notice that I'm letting my butt come out behind me. I'm not trying to maintain a perfectly straight up and down position of my back and torso when I rock back on that heel. So don't feel like you need to do that. Just slowly and deliberately up on the ball and then back on the heel. Check in on that core, because again, it's the first thing to go. And believe me, it's hard for me to maintain as well. So it is a very common thing for that core engagement to fall away. All right, other side. So don't worry if it has. Just try to tighten, contract those muscles back, and up on the ball, back on the heel, up on the ball, back on the heel, and trying to maintain that balance as much as you can, controlling the heel when you come back down from up on the ball. You don't want to slam the foot down, all right? You want up on the ball, slow lower, back on the heel, okay? Now, the last exercise is coming up. When that horn goes off, both feet on the floor, rocking back onto both heels, and we do not put our toes back on the floor until that final horn, all right? Back on the heels. Balance as long as you can. If you need to, shuffle around a little bit, and then balance out. There was something on the floor there. Again, core engagement is going to help maintain that balance. Again, don't worry about if your butt starts going behind you. That's fine. You can let it. Just really make sure the core is engaged the whole time and that you are not letting those toes come down to the ground, okay? They are staying off the ground the whole time, really getting that shin engagement, trying to do that balance as long as we can, as still as we can, but not afraid to shuffle around when we need to. Whoo! Oh, good job, everybody. Holy crow. Let's do a quick stretch, standing stretch of the quads. One hand on the wall for balance, holding one foot in the same hand, pulling that heel into your butt as close as you can, and the knee pointing down towards the floor. Really just getting that nice deep quad stretch. Even if you can maintain this as a balance, I recommend holding onto the wall so that all you're focusing on is that stretch rather than splitting your focus between stretch and balance. All right, other side, same thing. Woo, man, my left quad feels more sore. Interesting. For some reason, it's been getting a little bit more activated, a little bit more intensely used. Bodies are so fascinating. Bodies are so fascinating when we go back and forth between things and just notice, all right, let's do calf stretch off the wall. Just noticing the little differences. You know, we're not symmetrical creatures. And I think that's really cool and interesting. And a lot of times, we can really learn so much about our movement history, all right, switch sides, and our injury maps, just by, which side is stronger than the other, which side is able to balance more easily than the other, which side is more flexible than the other. There's a story to each one of those answers. And the more we learn those stories, all right, just roll over the tops of your toes, just go back and forth like this, just to stretch out the tops of those feet a little bit. The more we learn that story, the safer we will be in our movement practices, and the better able we will be to take care of our bodies and to prevent injury, and maybe even to balance things out a little bit, There's obviously nothing that says that we have to remain markedly stronger or more balanced or more flexible on one side than the other. There will probably always be disparity because, again, perfect is the enemy of good, and we're never going to attain that magical thing called perfection because it doesn't exist. But there's just so much information to be gleaned just from something as simple as, my left hip is so much more flexible than my right hip. And, the more you know about why, the better able you'll be to take care of yourself in this class or in any other activity that you might end up doing. And that's our goal, is we want to be active for as long as we can be. Oh, my friends, it's so nice to be back. It's so nice to be back. I admit I was tired this morning. I was a little freaked out. Again, I was a little worried that I wasn't going to be able to get the discipline back and the habit back. And it's just so nice. So nice to be back on the stream, ramping back up into exercise, hanging out with all of you, and just taking this journey together, which is so much fun. So much fun, and I'm really glad that you're here on it. And we're going to be doing so much over the spring and summer, and I'm also going to be talking a lot on Instagram about some of the other activities that I'll be digging into and just trying out for myself. And if you're trying anything, let me know. Let's hang out. Let's inspire each other. I'm gonna try and go for a hike on Friday. That'll be exciting. I haven't been on a hike it could possibly be almost 2 years since I was last on a hike, which is just ridiculous. And I'm excited because I'm in a very different place with my own fitness than I was the last time I went on a hike. So I'm excited to see what's changed, what hasn't changed, how I feel about the activity, if it's something I want to do more frequently, or if it's something that I'm comfortable, doing every once in a while. Again, there's so much to learn about what engages us, what interests us, what we want to learn, what we want to put aside for a little while. There's just so much, and I'm excited. I'm excited to go on these journeys, and I'm excited to share them with y'all. So yeah. All right, my friends. Wow. Well, I hope that the earlier time works for everybody. It definitely felt good for me to be able to hop on a little bit earlier, and so I hope that it worked for you as well. And we'll be on our regular schedule, our new regular schedule for the rest of the week. So we've got 3 more classes this week. Tomorrow, Wednesday at 4:30 p.m. Mountain Time is Jump Around, our weekly cardio class. Then Friday at 5 p.m., not 6 p.m., but 5 p.m. is Functional Home Fitness, where we do weight training using objects you can find around the house. And then Saturday morning at 9 a.m. is the weekend kickoff, our awesome strength and stamina focused body weight class. So just one other shifted time. Hopefully that works for everybody. And I'm pretty pleased about it. I think that it's going to be a good shift. But
yeah, I hope that you will join me for any or all of those classes. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. All those handles will be in my end cards, but they are all variations on Blanche Case Fitness. My YouTube channel is where I upload all the VODs from these streams, so you never have to miss a class, even if you can't make the live cast. So definitely head over there and subscribe. Dees, thanks. If you want to help support me financially in making these streams, I have a Coffee account for one-time donations, or you can subscribe to this channel. We are Twitch affiliates, so if you're able to support on a more long-term basis, either way, your donations are always very much appreciated. And if you want to help me keep growing this channel and community, then please tell your friends, loved ones, coworkers, anyone looking for an awesome class. I stream 4 days a week. We have a great community here. We have a lot of fun. We've got so much exercise to do, and I hope you come with me on this journey. So definitely finish off your water. Make sure to refill that. Hydrating is so important. It hasn't gotten less important over the course of my rest week. Make sure to get some food. Start replenishing those glycogen stores, especially if you're planning on coming to class tomorrow, because it does generally take up to 24 hours to fully replenish those stores, so you have them ready for another class like this. Take that celebratory post-workout shower. Like, it's just the best shower of the day. And I will see you all back here again tomorrow. Mwah! Have a great night.